Hello there, and welcome to this edition of Preservation Workshops. I'm Sue Taylor, Chief Curator for the New Mexico Museum of Space History, and today's topic is going to be about Preservation Week and Month. This will be a program where you will learn what has been going on for probably since the 1970s, when people started to realize that not just museum people need to be involved in preservation, but all people, including yourselves. So sit back, relax, learn a little bit about what Preservation Month and Week are all about, and we'll talk some more later. Preservation Week starts April 25th and ends on May 1st, 2021. Begun in 1973 by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, it was later changed to the last week of April leading into May to promote the role of libraries and other institutions in preserving personal and public collections and to offer tips and tools for preservation and disaster planning. Through special events, it's a way to introduce the local populace to their history and where to find it. Why? U.S. institutions hold more than 4.8 billion items. Libraries alone hold 3 billion items, 63% of the whole. A treasure trove of uncounted additional items is held by individuals, families, and communities. The theme for 2021 is Preserving Community Archives. Community archives can include, but are not limited to, any library, archive, or historical repository that will contain the history of your particular community. One such library archive is the Fray Angelico Chavez History Library, located in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Another community history repository is the Branson Hall Library on the New Mexico State University campus in Las Cruces, New Mexico. A very large community repository is the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Not only a library, but it contains archives dating to the founding of this country. If you have time, it is worth a visit. Of course, not all local libraries need to be large. Even small ones, like the one housed in the old Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad Depot in Magdalena, New Mexico, can contain a wealth of local history. So why is this week so important? It has been discovered that some 630 million items in collecting institutions require immediate attention and care. 80% of these institutions have no paid staffs assigned responsibility for collections care. 22% have no collections care personnel at all. Some 2.6 billion items are not protected by an emergency plan. As natural disasters of recent years have taught us, these resources are in jeopardy should a disaster strike. Personal, family, and community collections are equally at risk. Many libraries and institutions need help in conservation of their books that have been ravaged by bookworms. I don't mean the human kind, as evidenced by this photo. Nearly a quarter of all the 21 million paintings, sculptures, and works of decorative art in U.S. collections need conservation treatment, such as this restored painting of Francesco Bellani from the Chrysler Museum of Art in Norfolk, Virginia. By educating the public about the importance of conservation, monies can be more easily raised to have it performed. Not only libraries and artworks benefit from celebrating Preservation Week. Museums, like the New Mexico Museum of Space History, also benefit. More than just a museum that houses space stuff, it is a community repository documenting the development of the space race that took place in New Mexico in places like White Sands Missile Range, Holloman Air Force Base, and Roswell. Families also benefit from the events during Preservation Week. They can receive helpful tips on how to preserve their own personal histories. To ensure that historic sites, buildings, other historic places, and their stories are not forgotten, the National Trust added Preservation Month to begin on May 1st and overlap with Preservation Week. The entire month of May is filled with numerous opportunities around the country for the public to explore the ever-growing and unique heritage. Take a look in your attic or basement. You might find a historic document that has been in your family for years that may contribute to the history of the community where you or your ancestors lived. Old diaries, such as this page from the diary of Patrick Breen, who in 1847 described events of the Donner Party, could enlighten you as to what happened on a particular day in the past. How about an old family photograph, such as this of the Gregg family having a garden party in the late 19th century? A photograph such as this can show how the area that your family has lived in has changed over the years. Old city maps that have been squirreled away by your family also tell an exciting story of how your city has grown, such as this 1885 map of Birmingham, Alabama. Another way to celebrate is to visit one of your national parks. They preserve much of our natural and historic heritage and can enrich your understanding of what preservation is and even what your state or community once was like. Don't want to go to a park? How about staying a night or two in a historic hotel to enjoy the ambiance of a bygone era? Yes, the National Trust owns quite a few properties where you can stay, and believe it or not, are quite reasonably priced. The Old Faithful Inn in Yellowstone National Park was built in 1904. Not only can you spend the night in a historic hotel, but you can see what a property on the National Register of Historic Properties looks like, plus visit a national park all at the same time. What a grand way to spend Historic Preservation Month. The New Mexico Department of Cultural Affairs is a good starting point to find numerous museums and historic sites in New Mexico. Volunteering during National Preservation Month is a good way to get your hands involved in preservation. You can sort through archival material or even help to rehab a historic building, such as the Mansion. This is the last known brothel still standing in the Duranguito area of El Paso, Texas. If you prefer, go to enjoy a movie at a restored theater like the Plaza in downtown El Paso. Quite a few cities have restored their old movie theaters for use as community performance venues. Old theaters are also museums. The Plaza has an exhibit that features this flapper wedding dress of Fern Anderson. You never know what you may find preserved in an old theater. The Bureau of Land Management preserves more than just land. This rock art of the Crab Nebula event can be found at Three Rivers Petroglyph site located between Tularosa and Carrizozo, New Mexico. The Bureau also preserves historic ranches, such as the Empire Ranch in Arizona, dating to 1876. Did you know that the Institute of American Indian Art Museum of Contemporary Native Arts in Santa Fe is located in what was once the old post office and government building? This building was built in 1930 and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This building has been repurposed to house exhibits of Native American artists from around the country. Well, I hope that you learned a few things about preservation and how you can play a very important role in helping to preserve not only important objects from around the country, but your own personal things, which is what these workshops have been about. Trying to teach you how you can work on your own things at home so they will still be there for future generations. I'm Sue Taylor, Chief Curator for the New Mexico Museum of Space History, and thank you for joining me today in this presentation of a preservation workshop about Preservation Week and Month. Please subscribe to the museum's YouTube channel where you can see more of the preservation workshops as well as programs put out by education. We also have a Facebook page, and you may go onto that and see other things as well. Thank you very much. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.